much you can get to buy those stocks. Remember, there is no investment without risk. The time and stocks wait for no one. Don't imagine what can be. Let the Meristem Margin Lending help boost your investment portfolio. Terms and conditions apply. Call 0700 Meristem now to get started. Meristem, let's take you further.
Yes, I just paid my children's school fees. Supposed to buy some shares today, but it's school fees season, you know.
But just like school fees, stocks cannot wait. Life's many responsibilities come with its sacrifices, but with the margin lending facility, you don't have to miss out on investment opportunities. Now you can buy shares even when you are not liquid. All you need to do is have existing shares, managed funds, or cash to be used as collateral. The margin of the stocks will be calculated to determine how much you can get to buy those stocks. Remember, there is no investment without risk. The time and stocks wait for no one. Don't imagine what can be. Let the Meristem Margin Lending help boost your investment portfolio. Terms and conditions apply. Call 0700 Meristem now to get started. Meristem, let's take you further.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to specially welcome you to this very important webinar. My name is George Anyegunem, and I work with Meristem. So we have decided to put together this very important webinar, being that Meristem is always ready, willing, and always going the extra mile to helping our clients, our prospects, and even the general public to remain informed concerning their investment needs and even some issues or challenges that may come up with investment. And this is greatly in line with our brand promise, which is to provide our clients with up-to-date market information, even as they grow their wealth in an atmosphere of transparency. So we all know how important this webinar is to us this morning. A lot of people have lost their hard-earned money to Ponzi schemers or to Ponzi scheme. Some of us know what happened with MMM. People lost their gratuities, people lost their life savings, people lost even their trading capital, and many of them have not been able to recover from it. This year alone, a lot of Nigerians have lost billions of naira. Billions, I mean. So if we leave everything we are doing today to gather here, I think it's worth it. So, like as Meristem has always done, we try to see how we can keep people, mostly our highly esteemed clients, informed on some very important aspects of the market as it concerns investing or investment. So this morning, I will be introducing some very important persons who will be educating us, enlightening us, and bringing us the latest and most important information as it concerns Ponzi scheme. We have someone from SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission. We have someone from EFCC. Shortly, I'll be introducing them. And I know that they are very much ready to do justice to this topic. And I believe that by the time we are done with this webinar, we have added so much knowledge to ourselves that we are now able to spot out a Ponzi scheme, know how to avoid it, and also helping others, our brothers, our sisters, our colleagues, friends, and our neighbor to avoid such pitfalls. So I'll quickly want to introduce one of our panelists today. He's from Securities and Exchange Commission. His name is Efiok, Ekpenyong Efiok. So let me take his profile. Mr. Effiok is the head Financial Standards and Corporate Governance at Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. He joins SEC in 2002, and he holds a degree in business management and is an associate of the Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, CIS, Nigeria. He worked from 2002 to 2008 in the Collective Investment Schemes Department of Securities and Exchange Commission, now Investment Management Services Department, and the department responsible for the regulatory authorization and supervision of all forms of collective investment schemes products. Then he moved to the Monitoring and Investigation Department between 2008 and 2013. He has also served as head of Fund Management Supervision Division between 2014 and 2016. He served as the head of Investment Management Department, and from 2016 to date. He has also served as a member of the following committees: Financial Services Regulatory Coordinating Committee, FSRCC, on development of joint consolidated supervisory framework for financial institutions. He has also served as a member of FSS 2020 subcommittee on infrastructure financing, and also served as a member of the Committee for Federal Government Working Group on Development of National Savings Strategy. So you can see that Mr. Effiok is highly equipped with the requisite knowledge that will be needed today to do justice to this topic. You are highly welcome, Mr. Effiok. Can you say something to us?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. Good morning to Mary Stem for this very laudable initiative, and then good morning to all the participants, and also good morning to my co-panelists from the FCC. I welcome you all. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this. Thank you. God bless.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Effiok. So I'll be introducing the second panelist, and that's Mr. Abdullahi Tuko. Mr. Abdullahi Tuko works with the EFCC. Almost everybody here knows about EFCC. They're always in the news, trying to safeguard us from the hands of phony people. So Mr. Abdullahi is the head Capital Market and Insurance Fraud Section team, Team B, at the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Mr. Abdullahi Tuko Doro, BA, MA, MPA, MNIM, has been a seasoned investigator with EFCC for more than a decade. His career started at the Lagos office, which is the operational hub of the commission. He has worked in all the units in the operations department with a specialization in capital market and insurance fraud investigation for more than a decade. He's currently a team lead in the capital market and insurance fraud section. As a law enforcement officer, he has participated in many special operations which are of national interest. Furthermore, in terms of interagency operations, he was a team lead during interagency task force on cash movement at international airports, a team member in the special, please can you? He was also, sorry for that, he was also a team member in the special task force on higher profile cases, and also a member of interagency task force on vote buying during the 2019 election. He has investigated several high profile capital market fraud cases in Nigeria. So Mr. Tuko is an investigator and also an enforcer. So we can see that the panel today is balanced. We have somebody from the regulatory body, and also, we have somebody from the investigative or the enforcement side. So I will want Mr. Abdullahi to say one or two things to participants present here this morning, then before we dive into the discussion.
Good morning, with profound gratitude, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this timely section of this webinar on Ponzi scheme, which is one of the emerging capital market fraud today we are experiencing. In the course of our discussion, we will be kept abreast on various mode of operandis the fraudsters and how they actually use this as a means of actually eroding some of the investors' savings. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullahi. So before we start, Mr. Efiok, we first of all do a short presentation to us on Ponzi scheme. Very brief presentation, but very, very important and highly important, in fact. So he's going to do this, take this presentation. Then that presentation will set this, the pace or the stage for us to now come and discuss effectively. So, Mr. Efiok, are you ready?
Yeah, I am. Yes, I am.
Okay. Okay, so you have the floor. We'll share your slide shortly.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Am I audible? Can you hear me, everybody? Good morning again.
We can hear you, sir.
All right, great, great. All right, so again, I welcome everybody to this webinar, and I commend Mary Sten for putting this together, because this is very critical. And as we're going to see in this presentation, the solution to being able to deal with Ponzi schemes lies in massive, continuous, take note of the words I'm using, continuous, sustainable public enlightenment. And that's why what Mary Sten is doing with this program is very laudable and should be sustained. So let's go just dive deep straight into the presentation. So Ponzi schemes, why you should not be a victim. That's the title of this presentation. So let's go to the next slide. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right.
Okay, the slides are coming on. Apologies for the delay.
No problem. All right, so just basically, let's look at an overview. Okay, next one, next slide. The overview, overview of what we're going to be looking at today is going to be a very short one. And so you have the fallout, Ponzi schemes. What are Ponzi schemes? Features of a Ponzi scheme. And then the fact that Ponzi schemes thrive from ignorance and lust. Then lost to Ponzi schemes compared to capital invested in new mutual funds offer. Then, hold on now. Yeah. Then we have data highlights that will show the fact that the cost is too high, because most people are pursuing and putting their money in Ponzi schemes and getting burned because of the attraction of the so-called returns. And then at the end of the day, they pay so much high cost that swallows up whatever returns they were expecting to get from these Ponzi schemes. Then the next thing, we have recommendations for required action, call for action by investors. And finally, we can round off our presentation. So let's go on to the next slide, please. The fallout. Next slide, please. Right, so the fallout, let's look at for over 5-year period. So between 2015 and 2020, over 325.12 billion is estimated to have been lost by Nigerians to various Ponzi fraudulent investment scheme. That's a massive money. That's a massive loss. 325.12 billion has been lost just in about 5-year period to Ponzi schemes. That is too much of money to be lost by Nigerians. And when you look at this, you're looking at the fact that this 325.12 billion are meant to have been potential investments that should be earning very good returns, very good income. Are they being invested in the right instruments and in the right funds by regulated and supervised operators? So let's go to the next slide. Next slide, please. All right, so Ponzi schemes, what are they? Very quick one. Ponzi schemes, they're fraudulent financial scams. And though they're named from Charles Ponzi, who had a scheme that derived from postal checks that started in Boston. You know, like when you can buy postal stamps and then buy postal check, and then you now can claim some money out of it. So Charles Ponzi in 1920 or 1919 began that scheme, and it became a fraudulent scheme. It started very well, and it became a fraudulent scheme, and it got busted by 1920 in the city of Boston. And that's how it got its name, because it was very celebrated case. But the fraudulent schemes of a Ponzi scheme didn't start with Charles Ponzi. It actually predates him as far back as the 1800s. And so 1800s in Germany, and also too in the US too. But the celebrated case that became globally known was with the Charles Ponzi scheme. And that was how it got its name. But this kind of scheme had been existing right before Charles Ponzi own scheme. So what we can see from here, that's the fact that it's not a new phenomenon. It's also global, and it's also been existing all over the world. Then number two, of course, they are illegal. They are unauthorized, and I emphasize that they are unauthorized schemes. So they're not registered by the financial regulatory financial bodies, like particularly, of course, the relevant agency or institution to regulate or register such schemes is the Securities and Exchange Commission. So definitely these schemes are not registered, they're not authorized. That's number one. Then number two, the people that operate these schemes are also not regulated. They're not registered. And one of the key features you see in this scheme is guaranteed high returns. So they're going to tell you, you're going to be promised returns that are so high, and they do not have any relevance to legitimate investment returns in the financial markets, whether they be money market instruments or long-term instruments like bonds or equities or investment properties. They are always so high and don't have any realistic benchmark that you can relate to in the financial market. And that is where the attraction is. That's the trap that holds people there. So the next one again is that they operate and thrive. So they operate and thrive on constant, continuous flow of funds, new entrants. So which is also used to pay the returns to existing participants or subscribers. So you have that's why it's a pyramid scheme. So you have a case where the first guys who go into it, and they are the first guys that go into it and promise them. Subsequent subscribers to this scheme are the ones whose money are now used to pay the initial guys who go into this scheme. I want you to take note of the fact that I'm not using the word investors because if I use the word investor, it creates a legitimacy to the scheme. And I'm also not using the word investment scheme because they're not investment scheme because they're illegitimate. So the choice of words that I'm using are very deliberate. So you see the word participants or subscribers are not investors because whoever is getting to this scheme are not really investors. They're just subscribers to an illegal scheme and a fraudulent scheme. So like I go back again. So subsequent people that come into the scheme, the money that the monies that they pay into the scheme are now used to pay initial existing subscribers to the scheme. And these guys now go back and tell people and say, oh, wow, these guys are paying me this massive amount of return. And that itself now is what drives the popularity of the scheme. And then it begins to now mutate. It begins to now spread. You can liken them like just the way I'm sorry to use that analogy, but that's a fact. You can see liken them the way you see the virus you are seeing today. And they're really like viruses. I remember that when I did the presentation on Ponzi schemes to the Fund Managers Association of Nigeria. That was about the time last year, around the time of the COVID virus. And I actually used the virus scenario to illustrate it. So they spread very fast. They also mutate, and so it's so fast in spreading, and that's exactly the way Ponzi schemes are. They spread very fast. They're very popular, and people get sucked into it very easily. Next slide. Next slide. All right, so let's keep on. Let's now break down the features of a Ponzi scheme in more details. So, like I said earlier on, they are unregistered, they are not supervised. The sponsors and operators are not under any regulatory supervision. That's number one. Then number two, you really don't have any disclosures. There's scant disclosure. You don't have documentation in terms of the scheme type, what it's all about, what is invested in, and so on. So that you don't have disclosures on the investment portfolio. And so, of course, even typical Ponzi schemes, they don't have any investment portfolio. They don't undertake a whole permissible investment portfolio. Let me explain what I mean by that. Now, a proper fund or a scheme that's regulated and under the management of maybe like a company like Meristem Asset Management, for example, must have an investment portfolio that must align with your investment objective. So, for example, if your investment objective is short-term, and that you just want to have a short-term investments that are also liquid, so the asset manager will create a portfolio of what we call permissible. Take note of the word permissible asset classes. Those permissible investment and instruments are already registered, regulated by the relevant financial bodies. If they are money market instruments, they are registered by the Central Bank of Nigeria. If they are capital market instruments, they're registered by the Securities and Exchange Commission. So let's say if you have a short-term horizon of investments, and when I mean short-term, maybe just 1 year, and the essence of it being 1 year because you want it to be very liquid and so on. So the asset manager is going to look at your horizon, look at your risk profile, and maybe likely put a credit portfolio of, let's say, money market instruments, or a blend of money market instruments and very short-term bonds that are about to mature. And that creates liquidity. But the key thing is the fact that those instruments in that portfolio are permissible. They are liquid, they are registered, and in some cases that they are traded on the secondary market, and you can value them and all that. So these are the security involved in permissible instruments, and also where you have a registered scheme. So usually when you have offers from a properly regulated scheme, there will be proper disclosures on those investment portfolio. Then again, too, there's also going to be proper, it's not here, there's also going to be what they call proper client onboarding, KYC, know your clients, documentation on all those things. So this is lacking in the Ponzi scheme. The investor just subscribe, pay into an account and things like that, and so on and so forth. But in a proper scheme, you have a proper onboarding process, and a KYC is done, because these are the requirements by the regulator, and the asset managers or the regulated entities will have to comply with doing all these things in onboarding their clients. Number three, your Ponzi schemes invest in what I call non-permissible instruments. For sometimes they're not even investing in anything at all. So there are two things. That the typical Ponzi schemes will not just invest; they just pay money that comes from subsequent subscribers to existing subscribers. There are other ones that are kind of like a mutation. They are Ponzi too, because they also kind of like pay from incoming entrants and pay existing ones. But these other ones go to the point of buying, using the money to buy assets like rickshaw. What I mean by rickshaw, that is what we call keke nape, motorcycles, buses, and so on. These other guys go to buy those kind of things and build and use these assets and as a business for the organization. But the issue there is the fact that the monies they use in buying these assets are from subscribers, but the ownership is in the name of the guys who are the sponsors of this scheme, and not in the name of the scheme, not in the name of the investors. So at the end of the day, when losses come, these assets belong to these guys, and they've used the money of investors to buy these assets for themselves. But usually those assets they buy, like the rickshaw, the Okadas, and so on and so forth, they don't generate as much money or income as should be that they promise. So again, the Ponzi scheme future comes in because they will still use the money and inflows from new entrants to meet up the payment of the high guaranteed returns they promised subscribers. Number 4, the schemes are always very popular. Everybody wants to bet on it. They're so popular, you know, people lag onto it and so on. So that is how it is with our Ponzi schemes. Now, let me make a difference with Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes. In Ponzi scheme, the scheme itself is the central focus, is the linchpin. The guys who sponsor it are the main guys. But in the pyramid scheme, they have recruiters. They have those who go out to tell people about it. And then when you bring in more people, you earn a fee. So that's the difference between Ponzi schemes and pyramid scheme. In pyramid scheme, as many people you get into and bring on board, you get a fee, you get a percentage on what you bring in and all that. But in Ponzi scheme, there are no people coming on board. The main people who sponsor the scheme are the ones that control it and that operate it and also market it. But usually they are always very popular, you know, that and then they also now market it to friends, and now they're employing social media platforms like WhatsApp. Sometimes you just see a WhatsApp group is hacked, and they now tell you invest in this. They paid me this amount of money. This scheme, they are paying, and they paid me this amount of money. Those are typical Ponzi schemes. So they recruit and bring in people more using the testimonial of how much is being promised to be paid, and they are being paid. Now, then again, we are now seeing an increasing use of technology in Ponzi schemes too. And now the guys who are now using technology right now are also the guys who are savvy, because you have different levels of sponsors of Ponzi schemes. Just the same way as technology has become a disruptor in normal businesses, banking, even the capital market, every area, logistics, you can see what's happening with Uber, and every area, I mean, health, there's no aspect of life that technology has not changed. And we can see that with the digital Naira thing that has come up by the central bank. So Ponzi scheme sponsors are also bringing in technology into their operation. And that's what we're seeing right now gradually, and I call them Ponzi tech. So then finally, you can see that another thing we call Ponzi schemes, that for the guys who are very savvy, who are knowledgeable, because there are different levels of Ponzi scheme sponsors. There are those guys who are very intelligent. You'll see some Ponzi schemes that are very, very intricate structure, very complex structure, you know, and you can't really break into it. We've seen things like that. They'll have different kinds of business. They'll use the money and do all kinds of different businesses. A very good example of a complex operating structure of a Ponzi scheme is MBA Forex. They had different layers. They had different layers, different subgroups and things like that. And we're going to different things. So these are the complex type of Ponzi schemes, and usually there's lack of transparency. All right. So let's go on to the next slide, please. So now I bring in 2 quotes here to now take us to what we're going to talk much more that makes Ponzi schemes thrive. Now, the first quote is from the Bible. Proverbs 18 verse 15 says, "The heart of the prudent acquires knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeks knowledge." So why am I saying here right now? Majority, in short, not just majority, the totality of all those who are victims of Ponzi schemes never went out of the way to find out knowledge. What is this scheme about? What is it? Who are the sponsors of the scheme? And so because of that, they become imprudent. So the Bible says the prudent person will look and seek knowledge. What is it? What is the truth? Becomes a truth seeker. And when you become a truth seeker, you don't become a victim of a Ponzi scheme. Second quote is from Plato. He says, "It is better to be unborn than untaught, because ignorance is the root of misfortune." So the misfortune you're seeing of all the Nigerians who have lost money, people lose their gratuity and all the rest of those things, is simply out of ignorance. Because you've got, I mean, how can you take your gratuity or your money, your hard-earned money? I heard about another guy who took his school fees and put it into a Ponzi scheme. How can you do that without having to get information and facts and data on who are the sponsors of this scheme? Is it registered? Is it regulated? And I mean, this is a sad thing. So ignorance is at the heart. Ignorance and greed is at the heart of losses in Ponzi schemes. Let's go on to the next slide. All right, so that takes me to the next slide. It says that thriving from ignorance and loss. So Ponzi schemes and their sponsors, they thrive, they flourish because of ignorance and loss. Till today, there's massive ignorance in the market. And then that's one part. Those who are ignorant, those who do not know the financial market, what it does. There are lots of people who don't even know what SEC does. There are even those who are educated. You'll be very surprised that those who are educated, judges, top people, governors, who don't know the difference between the SEC, SEC, and Nigerian Stock Exchange. So there's a massive level of ignorance in the country. It's not just Nigeria alone. It's a massive ignorance all over the world. And this is the reason why Ponzi schemes thrive. So if you ask the average man what about instruments of the market and things like that, most people don't know about it. That is the reason why these guys who sponsor Ponzi schemes are able to capitalize and exploit. So Ponzi schemes thrive principally, take note, principally from lack of knowledge by retail end of the public of the financial market, operations, and investment instruments. Let me explain what I mean by that. Now, in any market and the public space, we do in the financial world, we structure them as the retail end of the public space or the public, or we also call the institutional and HNIs. HNIs means high net worth individuals. So the retail different jurisdiction will classify the retail market as based on net worth, maybe some jurisdiction will place a particular value and say, okay, if you don't have disposable income, the net worth of whatever you own, is not up to maybe 1 million. Let's just use 1 million or 500,000. Then that means you are a retail person. But there can be also other factors that can be used in classifying the retail end of the market. Most times, like as the head of IMD, I went ahead to use other factors like sophistication of investment or knowledge of investments instruments, then being a sophisticated investor, things like that. So usually retail investors are the regular, let me just use the word, regular people in the streets, and who are trying to make ends meet, or who are maybe, let's just say, middle class and low income people. So this level of people in the market are always vulnerable. And so the regulatory body, like I said, key thing it does is to protect them and to protect their investment. And the retail arm of the public are required to normally invest in instruments or schemes that ensure their protection. So, for example, anywhere in the world too, mutual funds, collective investment schemes are usually the vehicle for investment by retail investor, because the protection and the layering of protection are very, very serious, that usually it is difficult for the retail investor to lose money if he or she invests in a collective investment scheme or what they call a mutual fund. On the other end, you have insurance investors. We have what you call insurance investors, the pension funds, insurance companies, even the mutual funds themselves. These are insurance investors. They are big time investors. They invest big. You also have what they call endowment funds. You have what's called family trusts. These are insurance investors. They are savvy. They are sophisticated investors. They understand the market. They know the risk. They are very conversant and very educated, and they can analyze the market and instruments of the market. So usually you don't see this kind of people falling into the hands or being vulnerable or being, you can't see that because they are sophisticated and they understand the market. Then amongst also this other end, you also have sophisticated investors. You can have a Dangote, for example, HNIs that have a high net worth and also have understanding of the market. And then these other people have as investments savvy, they understand the risk of the market, and usually they can put their money in regulated instruments in the market. So Ponzi schemes, you see them thriving mainly in the place of the retail end of the market, where most people don't understand the market and instruments of the market. Number two is what I call the jackpot casino mindset. Now, it's a sad thing in our country right now because the values in this country is such that everybody's just looking for short-term, making quick money. And that makes people become very vulnerable to Ponzi scheme. The materialistic mindset is so much in the country. Well, you look at the fact that people are going to explain to you and say, okay, because of economic hardship, challenges, and so on and so forth, people just want to make quick money and all that. But all these things come with a cost because returns also have a risk to them. So we have an increasing trend and culture in our country, or what I call a jackpot casino mindset. It's not only in Nigeria alone. If you go to America, for example, people are going to Las Vegas and think that, oh, I'm going to have a lucky day, at the jackpots and maybe at the roulette table or something like that. So you see that mindset coming into play when Ponzi schemes come and promise very high returns. So people now begin to put their money, believe that I'm going to make very quick money out of this thing. Then the next one, again, that's also a reason why Ponzi schemes have also thrived, is because now the neglect of the retail market space by asset management companies. So you see the fact that a lot of asset management companies are putting much more focus on HNIs, institutional investors, because of scaling. Because, economies of scale, I mean, why am I going to go out and waste my time or trying to labor and struggle to get retail investors and go through all that when I can just get somebody who's an HNI that can just put and buy instruments or invest and bring in maybe, let's say, 100 million, 50 million, and into my and manage the person's portfolio. Why should I go to waste my time with retail investors when I can get institutional investors bringing their money into my funds or my instruments? So what you now see there is the fact that the retail market space becomes neglected, and then the Ponzi scheme operators exploit that and penetrate them deeply. So those are these three parts where work affect and allow Ponzi schemes to thrive. Let's go to the next slide, please. Now, so let's look at this. Within a 5-year period, this is my analysis. Within a 5-year period from 2015 to 2020, estimated loss of money by members of the public to Ponzi scheme was over 325.12 billion. 325.12 billion. I mean, you can look at that. I mean, that also is a figure that is found in the Guardian, online Guardian of September 2021 report. Now, it's interesting to know that this exceeds by 0.58% the aggregate initial investment capital of 323.24 billion raised by a total of 81 new SEC authorized mutual funds. So from the time, I mean, just even from the data we had, I just moved from my department where I used to be as head of the asset management department in SEC to what my current department is, which is a new one. And we have built, I'm a data person, so we build data. And between 2015 and 2020, 5-year period, 81 new mutual funds were registered by the SEC. And the total capital they raised between those 5-year period was 323.24 billion. Now, the Ponzi scheme money that was lost exceeded that by 0.58%. You can see the impact of this. So you can imagine that, take that money of 32.5.12 billion, add it to 323, which we are talking about nearly getting about 600, over 600 and something billion. That will get close to nearly 700 billion that will have been invested in appropriate, well-protected investment products that are regulated by the SEC and even the central bank. So this shows you the massive erosion, the massive attrition, the massive hemorrhaging of monies by Ponzi schemes. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide. All right, so now let's look at this now. We'll go down to a breakdown. Unfortunately, we need to really build a data bank, but thank God for what we have right now. I mean, this data comes from the SEC, also maybe EFCC and all that, but there's a need to put all this together in a more harmonized form so I can have a data bank on this, because sometimes when thank God the FCC man is here, sometimes when we also have investigative arm from the SEC, so we have, if the SEC can say, okay, we've nabbed some guys who are doing the Ponzi schemes, and the amount was recovered is this amount. But when the EFCC or police take over, they may recover much more money than that. Than the data with the EFCC or maybe police will differ from SEC, because the FCC or police take a further and deeper investigation and recover more money. So there's a need to harmonize data. But let's look at what we have currently for now. And this is where the whole thing comes from, of the 325.123 billion. Now, there's an unnamed scheme, that the name was not released, that the aggregate estimate the estimate loss was 147 billion. Then there was Nospecto. That was a massive one, 106 billion. That's just Nospecto. There are other ones at that period of time when Nospecto was popular that were also, they had different names at that time too. But this is just Nospecto that was the most popular of them, of those other ones. Then there's the MMM, also is 29 billion. So you can see there, I don't want to waste our time. There's Imagine Global, that's the recent one of the couple, the Ajetumobi couples. I mean, you can see what they did. It was deliberate, it was intentional. They preyed on people and they had planned their exit route, and then they moved to Antigua, got their, and I think I've heard that they had already got their citizenship. So it was intentional. They preyed on people's ignorance and they made money out of it, and they let people, I mean, some people going to commit suicide. We never got to hear about that. So this is the sad part of this thing. Now, MBA Forex, British Capital, name them, 325,123 billion. But I can tell you for a fact, this figure you're seeing is a far cry. If you really know the reality, it's much more than that. So it's a cost too high. So now, so if these monies are recovered, I mean, if this money were recovered, recovery of monies invested in Ponzi schemes are difficult. They're very difficult, because how do you trace people? Because there are no documentation, no proper KYC. So these are the issues. Then total loss of that amount of money, like I said, 325, which I said is just an estimate. This amount could have been invested in proper investment assets that will have still been yielding money to investors till today. Then unrealistic returns that bear no reference to benchmark returns are a hallmark of Ponzi schemes. So some of these returns, for example, like the Ajetumobi people were talking about, is it 10 to 20% return? British Capital was talking about 50% return, as high as that. And this is ridiculous. How can you think you can get the investment at this amount? And yet people will still listen to this and go into it. That now also tells you the issue of the aspect of the casino mentality I'm talking about, greed, just to make quick money and things like that. So these are the hallmarks of the Ponzi schemes. Losses by subscribers being outside regulated markets are not covered. So like if, for example, an investor invested in a fund, I won't say a fund, or put his money in an asset manager that was registered by SEC, and that asset management company went down or went under, normally such investors will be covered under the SEC Investor Protection Fund. That's the same way as central bank, NDIC has insurance for banks that go under. So in both ways, you can see the fact that investors in either the money market, others under central bank, or the capital market get covered somehow. It may not be everything, but somehow you get something back because you invested in under a company that was regulated by the regulatory body. But that does not happen under Ponzi scheme because they are illegal schemes, they are illegal operators, and when you lose your money is gone. All right, next slide. All right, so now we look at issues for consideration. We look at the regulatory perspective and required action, and we also look at industry perspective and required action. So first, let's look at issues. You can see the fact that over the years, not today, not yesterday, not 5 years ago, Ponzi schemes keep on coming up, one new one after the other. Next year, next 3 years, we're still going to be talking about Ponzi scheme issue. They keep on coming up. That's why I said that they're like viruses. They keep on mutating, coming up, and so on and so forth. So we always have them around. We can't eliminate them. That's the fact. Now, what's the regulatory perspective? What should we do? The regulatory action, required action is urgent action for increased, continuous, and sustained public campaign and investor education. This is at the heart of dealing with Ponzi scheme. I mean, let's ask ourselves a question. I see that maybe when I'm in Lagos or something, and I drive in an Uber car, in a taxi or something, and there's a public radio and stuff like that. How many times do you hear about investor education on investment and investable instruments? You don't hear that. People don't hear those kind of things. So the level of public awareness is like nil. It's so little. It's really not there. And that's the reason why people are still thriving in ignorance. And this is the reason why Ponzi schemes continue to proliferate. And so we need to really come, the regulatory body, the market operators, we need to come and have what I call sustained, continuous. Every time you're in the car, whatever station you're in, you should have somebody talking about, telling you about what kind of investments you invest in and warning people about Ponzi schemes and so on. When this is done regularly and continuously, people become educated, people ask questions, and I can tell you knowledge is power. We all know that. And just like what Mention is doing right now. Then number two, there should be an enabling law for criminal prosecution of sponsors and the forfeiture of invested monies. Now let's go on to the industry perspective. There should be, now for the industry now, what I mean industry right now means that there should be, this is talking about the fund manage, the capital market intermediaries and the regulatory body like the SEC. So I'm talking about the capital market right now. So the SEC, central bank, EFCC, and so on and so forth. There should be increased collaboration with SEC in terms of knowledge sharing.
I want to push it aggressively, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to sell it.
All right. So sorry about that interference. It's not from my end. So there should be increased collaboration in terms of intelligence sharing on Ponzi schemes. FMAN, Fund Managers Association of Nigeria, has been doing this. I raised this up in my presentation, and they have been doing this and sending reports to SEC. But I've also told them before I left the department, they should also send such reports to the EFCC. So wherever you see anybody, it's just like a whistleblowing thing. Wherever you see anybody talking about this particular kind of scheme or this scheme or that, somebody maybe sending to your WhatsApp group about a scheme where they're paying money, report to the FCC, report those things to SEC, and then this is also a form of way to deal with it. Then the next one, we have diligent, regular, periodic investor awareness. I won't spend time too much because I've spoken about that already, but it should, like, I take note of my words. It must be diligent. It must be regular. And it must be across all the different geopolitical zones of the country. Number two, issue for constitution number two says that advent and growing number of technology-driven Ponzi scheme. So of course, like I said earlier on, just the same way as technology has become a disruptor and then also an enabler, major enabler in terms of business operations and so on and so forth. And we can see that in even in the asset management industry and mutual fund industry. I mean, where the asset managers, most of them, like I said earlier on, most of them have been focusing more on the high-end end of the market, the HNIs, institutional investors. We have seen a technologically driven company that's now been registered by SEC that has had massive penetration in the retail space of mutual funds of its asset products, to the retail people using technology. Very good idea, very good innovation, and we welcome that. So technology is also another means and way to deal with Ponzi schemes. So when you have the Meristem of this world and all asset management employing technology as a way to bring in retail clients and creating products for retail clients, that itself also will support the public education and awareness that are being created to make people aware of what are the right instruments and platforms to invest in, and not in Ponzi scheme. So the Ponzi guys too are also using technology too. So I've seen guys who are now serving technology and also trying to bring that in to do what they're doing. Now, regulatory framework on technology-enabled financial activities such as crowdfunding rules and other rules have been made by the SEC. Then initiative and collaboration with relevant regulatory agencies like NIDA are currently going on between the SEC and NIDA. Then industry perspective, we should diversify to create more retail investor-based schemes, leveraging on technology for cost-effective operations and as a counter to the space exploited by Ponzi scheme sponsors. All right, next slide, please. All right, so call to action as a roundup, call to action. So one, don't be a victim. For those who are out there listening to me, number one, first of all, for any products that have been advertised to you or told to you by your friends, blah, blah, blah. Number one, consult the SEC for information on any scheme or the sponsor of the scheme. Number two, seek and obtain investment advice from a SEC-registered asset management company like Meristem. There are many of them out there. Then if a company comes and tells you, oh, we are investment company and so on and so forth, bring your money, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. Don't give them your money yet. Go to the SEC website, go to the SEC zonal offices and find out, is this company registered with the SEC as a fund portfolio manager? Address it with the SEC, find out, ask questions, tell the SEC. If they give you flyers about whatever their product are, collect the flyers from them and send it to the SEC. We have an SEC market line. I'm sorry, I don't have. I'll get it across to us. We have an SEC market interface line whereby people can call in and ask questions and talk to the SEC about it. So get to find out information from the SEC, and then also get to find out information from the SEC about registered fund managers who you can use and deal with. Meristem is one of them. Number three, avoid schemes that offer very high returns on investments and also that attract public popularity. Avoid them. When you have schemes that are so popular, people just go along with the crowd. Don't just flow with the crowd. Oh, this is what is coming on. This is what's trending. This is what is trending, and they are paying this amount of money. You can't do that. So avoid that. Go and do your investigation. Go and do your analysis and investigate by going to the SEC and finding out, is this scheme registered and so on. Don't just jump on the bus and then crash. So avoid schemes that offer very high returns on investment. They're too good to be true. Then number four, have a realistic investment objective that appropriately aligns with your risk profile as advised by your fund manager. Most time people are saying, oh, how much is this going to get to me or earn to me? Listen to me. You build wealth by patience. There's what is called market movements. So if today, for example, the share price of, let's say, for example, Guaranteed Trust Bank is, let's say, 100 naira and it goes down tomorrow to 95 naira, doesn't mean you should panic. No, at all. Depending on your strategy, that same security will always appreciate. Market is always volatile. There will be times of lows and highs, but you should have your own strategy in terms of the fact that this is what I want to do. Am I going on short term? Am I going on high term? But this is not the place for me to tell you about that. You have proper investments, advisors, asset managers to advise you based on your risk profile, based on your investment objective. You should have an investment objective, so you should determine what you want to do. The investment objective you are going to have maybe for your child. If it's for your child, it's going to be a long-term basis. If it's for yourself, depending on your age, it's going to be short-term basis. And the portfolio they will create to you will align with your investment objective. But the key thing is that you must carry out investment with a SEC-regulated and SEC-registered fund manager. All right. So the next slide, I think I'm through with my presentation. So I want to thank everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mary Stem. We need to, like I said earlier on, this must be sustained. This must be continuous. Thank God for technology. Funny enough, I was having lunch with somebody yesterday, and she saw something. She saw this presentation on Instagram. I said, Mr. Efiok, look, this is, I'm seeing something from Mary Stem about Ponzi scheme, and I'm seeing your picture here. And I said, oh, really? I said, yeah. And I said, yeah, I'm going to present. So that's an example of how we can move this further. So the deeper, the more we make it global, the more we continue to make it sustainable and all that, more people will understand, more people are going to be enlightened, and more people will get themselves out of the risk of losing their hard-earned money to Ponzi schemes. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Fiok. What a beautiful presentation, highly detailed. You just nailed it. And I like the way you brought it home, that we can relate with it, the statistics and everything. Thank you so much. We can't be, in short, we lack enough words to appreciate what you've just done to this presentation. Thank you so much. Yes, I'm really grateful. We are grateful. So I want to use the opportunity to tell our attendees that the Q&A chat room is open. Go there and ask your questions, make your comment. So a lot of people have started using it already. Please use your Q&A section to ask your questions, because now we are going to face the discussion proper. So we hear from the EFCC, we hear from the SEC, and different people here will contribute their opinions, and at the end of the day, would have been highly educated or enlightened. So once again, I want to thank you, Mr. Efiok. So one of the questions I would want to ask, I would like to ask Mr. Efiok before we call on Mr. Abdullahi, is this. Mr. Efiok, we discovered that most of these Ponzi schemes, like you noted, are being driven by technology, mostly social media. And we found out that even social media celebrities, influencers, and even top radio stations in cities, television stations in cities and in towns are used to actually propagate these Ponzi schemes. And seeing a celebrity or somebody you know that you hold at a very high esteem promoting such Ponzi scheme, people wouldn't have that opportunity to ask a second question. They would just jump at it. So we want to find out, is there any law? Do we have laws or regulations that will punish people who engage in such, celebrities, influencers, radio stations, television stations that promote Ponzi schemes?
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, I was looking at the questions, and I think I saw something like that from Sumbo Olaliri, in that same light, in terms of also asking the fact that decisive regulatory action to deal with this kind of thing. Now, let me answer it this way. Now, it's people have a choice to like say what they want to do, and then I don't know. There's a freedom of you saying what you need to say, and then I'm looking at how to be able to how to be able to like say draw a line, come to a middle ground in terms of once rights, inalienable rights to say whatever I want to say. But the thing that's the fact that the operators and the sponsors, I am not sure there's a law yet in terms of having to deal with them. But I can tell you clearly, for example, that we have worked in the SEC to put in a law of criminal action on sponsors of Ponzi scheme. So it's currently has been put into the new draft Investment Securities Act that will soon be sent to the National Assembly. So that law is there to punish under a criminal prosecution of sponsors and operators of Ponzi schemes. So that's coming up as a law right now. I'm sorry, going to come up as a law when that new amended Investment Securities Act, ISA, is passed. Now, for those who come to like celebrities who come to speak about those schemes to promote them, they themselves are ignorant. So, they just carried away by the fact that, oh, I'm a celebrity and they call me to come and speak about a scheme and they don't even know anything about it. Being a celebrity doesn't make you knowledgeable financially. To just come, all the same thing about just panding, their being popular and coming to speak. So they come and speak and talk about something ignorant they don't know about. But the only way to deal with that is not to arrest them or to prosecute them. The only way to deal with that is to counter that immediately. So we, the regulatory body, SEC, market operators, need to consistently take up. So when we see that happen, we need to also immediately issue also a counter. Also, you're also using the social media too. So, I'm in the SEC, the truth be told, we need to up our game. We need to up the ante. We need to do much more. I'm not one to gloss over because I'm a government official or something that gloss over what is not right and be diplomatic. No, we need to do and correct where we have weaknesses. And we've been talking about that in the SEC. So we need to counter all this social media promotion also by social media releases and say, no, this is not right. This is not true. And I can tell you that most people do not know the fact that we have a short clip about Ponzi schemes made by the SEC. But the issue is that you can only find out on the SEC website. But not everybody goes to the website. Not everybody knows about the website. So the SEC needs to do much more. Push this thing to Twitter. Push this thing to Facebook. Let's have our own people watching and monitoring activities on social media that promotes Ponzi schemes and counter that. So I can tell you that we also need to do much more along with the markets too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I think you have actually explained it. And I believe that by the time that Investment and Security Act comes into action or life, people would have been well enlightened and they would desist from that. Thanks so much. I now want to ask Mr. Abdullahi. Mr. Abdullahi, are you here? Okay, thank you so much. Please, you have to unmute, please, Mr. Abdullahi, so that we can hear you. Thank you. So one of the, my question to Mr. Abdullahi is, I would like you to, Mr. Fioka shared so much with us concerning his experience as a regulator, as someone from the SEC side. So we want to hear from you now. We would like to hear from you, your overall perspective as somebody who enforces these laws and also investigate some of these fraudulent activities. Let's hear your experience over the years. How has it been? What do you think is the reason why people still patronize these Ponzi schemers despite all the mistakes or all the losses they've observed in the past? someone said that EFCC receives thousands of letters from victims. So how are you dealing with this at the EFCC? And what are the things you are looking at improving to make sure that the investing public is safeguarded from some of these funny schemes? Thank you. Hello, Mr. Toko. Mr. Abdullahi, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Abdullahi. I think you need to unmute. Okay. Mr. Efio, can you hear me? Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So I'm sure that Mr. Abdullahi is having some challenges with his network because I can't hear him.
Okay.
So I will, while we are waiting for him to put his internet connectivity together so that we can hear him, I will also want to ask you another important question.
Okay.
And that is, we want to know, what's your working relationship with EFCC like in curbing this menace in our society today? Do you have a handshake? And if so, what are the what are the major successes? Yes, that's the word. What are the major successes that you people have been able to achieve together in curbing this menace?
All right, thank you very much, George, for that question. Well, we do have a handshake. We work with the FCC together. As a matter of fact, if I'm correct, I think I'm correct. The FCC is on the board of the EFCC, and I know the fact that at its initial days, SEC did second officers to the EFCC to help them in the area of developing their financial markets section, to get them to understand how the financial market and capital market particularly operates and all that. So there is that continuous relationship working with them. Now, we still sustain our relationship in terms of our enforcement departments, because our enforcement department and investigation department also investigates. But like we are regulated, so even as we investigate, we don't have as much of that wherewithal and that powers as the FCC will do. So what we normally would do is to hand over whatever we have done to them. So I can tell you as a good example that many recoveries that have been done has been done working together with EFCC. Let me give an example. Yuan Dong is a Ponzi scheme that has an international flavor with the Chinese people. Now, I mean, that involves some Chinese citizens who in Nigeria. And we went as far as working with Interpol and the Chinese government. I'm talking the SEC right now, SEC. We went as far as working through the Chinese embassy of the Chinese Republic in Nigeria and Interpol to be able to get the culprits and the rest of them. And we went very far to be able to get some recovery. And we worked collaboration with EFCC. So I can't talk in details so much because I'm not from the enforcement department. I can only know to a point what they do and all that. So I can't give you all the details and all that. But I know without a doubt that there's that working relationship with EFCC in this regard. Some cases we give it to them, we just leave it to them, and then they continue the investigation and all that. As a matter of fact, even in terms of criminal prosecution, we also have a collaboration with we have the police department in SEC. We have the police normally give us people who are working in the SEC for this same reason. We used to have, I don't know if it's still going on to right now. We also have members of we have a collaboration with the Ministry of Justice. So we have some guys from the Ministry of Justice who are working, who are like placed into the SEC. So where the areas that have to do with criminal issues and criminal proceedings come in, we hand over to the police department, EFCC, and then so when we have to go to criminal prosecution, we hand over to the Ministry of Justice in that regard. But like I said earlier on, the details of all that are with my colleagues and guys who are in the enforcement department. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ethiok. A lot of questions are coming up here. Our participants have started bombarding the Q&A section with questions. And one anonymous attendee is asking here, he said there has been a lot of reduction in crowdfunding platforms such as FarmCrowd, etc. Is it as a result of the Ponzi scheme effect? So he will want to know why a company like FarmCrowd that used to crowdfund, we know of the company called FarmCrowd. So some of them, he's saying that he discovered that some of the crowdfunding platforms, are no longer in existence. He's asking now, is it as a result of Ponzi schemes?
Okay. Let me answer that. Thank you very much. All right. Now let's separate something clearly, and let's understand some things. It's not because a sponsor of a crowdfunding platform brings up a crowdfunding platform and makes them necessarily a Ponzi scheme. No. There are those who are doing the right thing, and there are those, of course, among those who are not doing the right thing who are Ponzi schemes. Let me say this. Now, on the crowdfunding thing.
Also, technical problem.
On the crowdfunding thing, the SEC came out. The SEC has come out with
a technical problem, but I have resolved what.
Okay, it's like Mr. Chuko is back, but Mr. Chuko, just hold on a little. Okay, continue, please. I think once you are done, Mr. Chuko will come up.
All right. So the SEC, I'm part of the rule-making committee, and the SEC came up with a rule on crowdfunding. It was exposed to the market. We had even the World Bank, IFC, making inputs and responding to rules on crowdfunding, and it has been finally a rule. And so I believe that now all the guys who own crowdfunding platforms have seen the rule and now have to submit to the regulatory requirements on the rule. Before, you're seeing them all doing whatever they do because there's no rule on that. But now there's a rule that tells you this is what you need to do and specify what you need to do, blah, blah, blah. So the times of no rules, no regulation, and everyone just do whatever they want doing and there's no platform for that is in the past right now, because responsibilities have been placed in that rule in terms of you as a sponsor of a crowdfunding platform, what you need to do, and why you need to be registered by the SEC as a crowdfunding platform sponsor. So that has brought that has streamlined that area and brought some sanity there. And I guess that's the reason why you're seeing that. Because now if you don't fall in within the requirements of those regulations that SEC has released, then that means you're going against the law and then we're going to come against you. So I believe that's the reason why that has happened like that. And that's also good for the market. Let me give you an example of even FarmCrowd, which I'm involved in. Now, it's one thing to be a techie guy and then you create enablers and so on. But that doesn't make you understand the market and the way the financial market operates. So you have when FarmCrowd came and we had a meeting with us, and I and my team, we told them the issues and the risk and the issues that were not addressed. Yeah, you had the technological enablement, but certain issues that had to do in terms of protection of investors. How do you identify them? How do you put them into a trust? How do you separate them from your company or your sponsor? How do you make them, how do you separate them from if, for example, FarmCrowd as a company goes bust and so on? How do you deal with that? So all those issues, we had to take it up to them and show them structures that has to be put in place before you can start doing all these things. And they agreed to that. And so we've had some of the tech guys who want to do the right thing come to the SEC and have a meeting with us, because we're open to technology and we welcome it. And we showed them what to do in terms of structuring and how to protect investors, how to separate investors from the sponsors and owners of the technology, and all that, and create a trust structure for the that separates the investors and ensure under the trust structure, ownership of those assets or investments belong to the investors and not the company itself. All these things were all put together, and they went back and did all those things, and they'll be coming back to the SEC, coming back for registration, coming back for approvals and things like that. So there is a streamlining and putting in place in that area. So I can tell you that that's the reason why you're seeing what is happening right now, that area is not seeing any kind of platform just going up just like that, because we put some sanity there by the reason of our recent rules and regulations. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Quite insightful. Thank you so much, Mr. Fiok. I also want to let us know that we are live on YouTube. So you can tell your friends to join us on YouTube. We are live there. And because this is a very serious matter, we want everybody to benefit from this very important session. So I want to know if Mr. Abdullahi is back. Mr. Abdullahi, are you back? Please, if you're back, please unmute so that we can hear from you. I think you had a challenge some few minutes back, but I can see you on the platform. Hello, Mr. Abdullahi, are you back now? Hello. Okay, I think Mr. Abdullahi is not back yet, or maybe he's still having some network challenges. I would like to find out then, Mr. Fiok, while we are waiting for Mr. Abdullahi to come up, there's another question here. He said, how is from Kenoye Rukari. So Kenoye is asking, how do we communicate with SEC? Are they receptive and open to public engagement? How can we get involved with advocacy and public education? Okay, Mr. Abdullahi is back. Mr. Abdullahi, are you back now?
I'm back.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad you're back. So before we get back to that question, let me quickly hear from Mr. Abdullahi. Mr. Abdullahi, like I was asking you earlier on before you had that technical glitch, we want to find out your personal experience, or we want to have your perspective as an enforcer, as an investigator. What has it been like? What's your experience with Ponzi schemes in Nigeria? Knowing that someone said that EFCC receives thousands of emails, complaints, queries, or whatever from the investing public concerning Ponzi schemes and how they have fallen victims. How are you going about all this? What are your opinions and your perspectives to Ponzi schemes in Nigeria? What do you think are the driving forces? And what are the successes people have recorded in trying to mitigate this issue or this problem or this challenge? Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. And,
thank you.
Before I proceed, I'm very sorry for the technical problem I've experienced in the course of this program. EFCC as a body which had the statutory power to receive and investigate cases of fraud related, among which investment scheme. Upon this scheme, FCC as a body, we have received so many cases from different victims across our different offices we have in the country. We have done a lot in investigating these cases, and most especially we have so many cases that are currently under investigation in the commission. But for the sake of public consumption here, these cases are under investigation. I will not be able to actually disclose. It can tamper with the investigation. But I know so many cases are in the public domain, which EFCC has actually investigated and charged to court. But one of the recent problems we have in the course of investigation is that investigating this Ponzi scheme is the fact that very unfortunate, there's some Ponzi schemes that are even regulated We have like two cases now, live cases, which are currently were investigated. And this Ponzi scheme are regulated by the relevant regulatory bodies. To my surprise, and in fact, some of even the staff of the regulated agencies are victim of this Ponzi scheme. That is why one of my colleagues was talking about the issue of ignorance, the tribal ignorance, or is. It's so sad. I'm very surprised that if somebody is a staff of of regulatory bodies is involved in a Ponzi scheme, it's alarming. It's so alarming. What about the people that are outside there that are not even aware about what the market is all about? So honestly speaking, it's quite challenging. Yeah, it's quite challenging, but something need to be done. But like I've told you, this funding scheme is actually is propelled by maybe greediness. Sometimes some people are eager, they're anxious to to arrive. They are easy, quick money, most especially in the third world countries, which Nigeria is one of them. People doesn't want to work hard to get the means of livelihood. But in the course of investigation, when I was interviewing some of the victims, or some of the victims, they will tell you that the economy is so harsh. They, they have finished school, they don't have something doing, they are not employed. So they think that this is an avenue, this funding scheme is relatively effective but not reliable. To tell you it's effective but not reliable because they consider it as a means of getting a means of livelihood. So that is why they quickly, most especially, to key into this kind of funding scheme so that they will get something out of it as a means of livelihood. But they will tell you that they know that yes, it's not reliable. They believe that it's not reliable, but they have no other alternative. They don't have no other means to. They have responsibility, so they have to work hard in to get something that they can actually call back, something that can propel they continue their life. So honestly speaking, on this scheme, as far as I'm concerned, it has come to stay. Insofar as the economy is not doing well, the market itself, the equity market is not doing well. Since during this economic meltdown, 2008, the capital market generally is down. So that is one of the reasons that propel and make this Ponzi scheme to propel in the market is becoming so pervasive, so prominent in the market, because people have lose confidence in the equity market. They'll tell you that they subscribe for a particular equity and there's nothing to show. But this scheme at least will give them something quick. But still, they know that is not effective. Well, it's not reliable, but effective to some extent. So that's one of the reasons why most of the people now key into this Ponzi scheme. Not that they know what they are doing is right. They know that is not the right, but they have no other things. So I think it's the issue of economy. It's not only the issue of ignorance. It's not the issue of ignorance alone, but the economy itself. When the economy is not doing well, people have to find other alternative for them. So it requires the fight against this one. This is required a kind of collaborative effort on the regulators, the law enforcement agencies, the judiciary, even the operators themselves. We need to come together and put our hands on deck to work assiduously in a bid to curtail these menace of for this scheme. On the issue of technology, EFCC as a body recently, under the leadership of the current chairman, we have a full-fledged intelligence department. This full intelligence department that is domiciled in EFCC is geared toward to monitor the activities of this Ponzi scheme on the internet and other sources. Because in the past we don't have something like that, but in a response to this problem, we have a new department called Intelligence Department. So it is a responsibility of this Intelligence Department to monitor the activities of all these kind of investment scam and generate intelligence, and then we investigate, and after our investigation we charge to court. So on the issue of investigation and we charge these cases to court, one of the problems we are facing is the judiciary, because most of the judicial officers, they are not acquainted with the modus operandi of this Ponzi scheme. So I think the judiciary should be involved in enlightening them on how this Ponzi scheme operates, so that when you go to the court, they can easily understand our cases very well and fast track the cases and judgment and send the people to jail so that they will learn. So I think the judiciary also need to be involved. Let educate them, enlighten them, the judges, let them understand how this Ponzi scheme operates. By so doing, they can actually curtail it. So on the issue of the economy is the key. We have to improve on the economy so that people will have something to do. Because an ideal man is a double bank workshop. When people doesn't have something to do, what do you think? They will be doing one thing or the other, which is one of them is this Ponzi scheme, and that is why it's even becoming prominent, so pronounced, most especially because of the economy of the world. The recent pandemic we have, the COVID-19, it has affected the economy generally. So most of the people, they believe that this kind of Ponzi scheme is not actually reliable, but it's effective. So I'm still on dwell on the economy, on the economy issue. So, and also the confidence, the people lost confidence in the market generally, the capital market. So that's why, and they see that this Ponzi scheme will give them higher return, which and easily and without any much risk. But this does not mean that I'm not encouraging people to go into this. And the issue of, I want to even add on issue of these celebrities, that there is a laws, there is enabling laws. We have a lot of laws that talk about that. We have
okay, Mr. Abdullahi, I would like to ask you just one more question. I would like to add one question to it from one of the participants here. Is asking, maybe when the question is for you and Mr. Effiok. So maybe you say your own part of it. You say, what is SEC? What is SEC doing, or what does SEC know about TMAP investment? TMAP, THEMAP, or DMAP investment. DMAP investment, who have scammed thousands of people to the tune of 7.5 billion. Around December 2020, he was picked up by EFCC and was later released. And up till now, he hasn't refunded investors' money. Kindly advise what an investor can do in this instance. So let's hear from you, and we hear from Mr. Effiok.
The issue of DMAP, I don't want to be calling names because these are live cases.
Yes.
But be as it may, since you have said it, which I have to respond to some extent. At the issue of DMAP, he has been arrested and investigated, and the case now is legal. That it is illegal. They will look at it, the ingredients, whether or not it can be charged to court or not. So the commission is on it seriously. Apart from the map, we have so many which are not even in the public domain. Of recent, I can tell you, in my team alone, I have not less than 20, which we have concluded the investigation, and then as soon as we finish the investigation, they will be charged to court. Even the MAF, you'll be charged to court. If there is found culpable, you will be charged to court. We will not rest on our shoulder. We have to get rid of all these kind of investment fraudulent activities in the country, which is within our jurisdiction. And we have been working with SEC as a strategic partner in this direction. Even I think last month we have a kind of conference between SEC and EFCC on the area of collaboration. So we are doing great. We are doing very well, but it's not something that I can actually tell you everything here. This is a public forum, and as a law enforcement officer, you don't talk anyhow. So
Okay,
please, this can affect the investigation. But on the issue of the map, I can assure you that the commission is on it. Even last week we sat down. It's one of the cases that we had. So the case is still on, and you see very soon. You see what will happen. You see it in the public domain.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abdullahi. Let's go to other questions that are coming up here. So maybe I should ask Mr. Effiok should be able to answer this. He said new platforms are springing up. An example, they mentioned example, I wouldn't want to call the names of these companies. They say they're involved in real estate, in dredging, in pepper, in ginger and turmeric farming, oil and gas, etc. They also promise high returns. What do you have to say about them?
Well, thank you very much. I'm going to answer the question and also go to what the gentleman from the FCC said, because I think that he raised up some things that I think he should have pointed out to me to respond. But let me answer the question first of all. Now, SEC is not an octopus. Now, as much of what we're able to see and find out are brought to our attention, we deal with that immediately. And we've dealt with cases of the fact of sponsors of non-permissible or registered investments that are not registered with SEC. I can tell you one, I don't want to mention the name of that firm. It's a big one. They're involved in real estate, and we took them in and we told them to stop what they were doing, and they did. And they put them through to regularize what they're doing. And like I said, I'm not going to mention the name. No, but let me let you know something. It's not just about coming up as a person to come and ask what's SEC doing about this, because we don't know everything. We only deal with all the issues that comes to the fore of the SEC are dealt with. And what I mean dealt with in the sense of what we can do based on our powers. You don't have criminal powers. It is the EFCC that has those criminal powers, and we refer to them. And so they should be the ones to handle all these things. We are a regulator of the capital market. And in regulating the capital market, we also help to develop the markets too. So to a great point, we have even gone beyond our reach, like I explained earlier on, to get the Ministry of Justice entrenched with the SEC, to get the police department entrenched with the SEC, where we pass all these things, where we pass issues that have to do with criminal issues to them, and then to the FCC themselves too. So I would say that your contributor made, or whoever it's asked that question, made specific names of those names. I don't know those names. Enforcement department may know those names, and they be investigating on them. So I don't have the details on them, but I can tell you for a fact, unequivocally, that all that comes before the SEC are properly dealt with, and then where they are required to refer to are referred appropriately to the EFCC. Now, having said that, it's important to like deal with some issues that the EFCC has said, and to really, because it's a public space, and to correct certain things that are not right. We have said, first of all, number one, in his last statement, he said that there's a collaboration with SEC by the EFCC. But that is also strange for him to have said earlier on that there are Ponzi schemes that are regulated by the market. I don't understand if he understands what regulation really means. You can't have an illegal scheme that are under the regulatory body. Now, if he says that there are Ponzi schemes that are under the regulatory body, now I left the IMD department. I'm moving to FSCG just 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. And I'm also a member of most of the hierarchies of the commission. There's nothing to the commission that have been referred by EFCC to be a regulated entity that's a Ponzi scheme. And I'm very surprised that someone who's a member of the public, of EFCC and public institution will say what he's saying in the public about a Ponzi scheme under regulation. Do you really understand what a Ponzi scheme is and what are regulated entities? This is very but let me look at it, because I don't want to raise up issue because it's a public space right now. But let me explain. Maybe Mr. Chiku doesn't understand what regulated entities are. And Mary Stem, you do understand what regulated entities are. Now, let me give an example. For example, there's no legal scheme that can ever be registered, because the first point of regulation is registration. And the reason why you're registered is also because of the fact that anywhere that you go and breach any of the rules, you are going to be taken out of the market. So let's start first of all with mutual funds. Now, every Ponzi scheme is based on a mutual fund, is a pulling up structure where people put in money into it. That's why it's called a scheme, and it's an illegal scheme. Now, in a regulated scheme, and maybe this is an education that the gentleman will also get to understand. In a regulated scheme, for example, where regulated by the SEC, called mutual funds or any kind of investment funds, now there must be a trustee, there must be a fund manager, there must be a custodian. Now, these are parties to a fund and a scheme. And every operator of a fund or a scheme must be registered by the SEC. So if he says that there are some Ponzi schemes that are under a regulation, that means that he's saying that the SEC is supervising illegal operators. And an illegal operator is a member of Fund Managers Association of Nigeria. That is not the right thing to say, really. And if that is the case, I'm asking the question, how come the EFCC has not escalated to the SEC that there are some Ponzi schemes or operators that are under SEC regulation? I'm asking that with a lot of emphasis. So we need to be very careful. Maybe I can excuse the gentleman for the issue of understanding of what is literally in terms of what are called regulated entities and the onus and the burden of what is called regulation. We all know the fact that even companies like BGL were taken out of the market by enforcement. Deep Capital, there are lots of them have been taken out of the market because of regulatory action, that kind of thing. So you don't say things like that. Recently, as a matter of fact, asset management operations are not even mutual funds, have been brought under SEC regulatory purview. So even if you're managing a fund as under the basis of discretionary mandates, which before was just a private fund before, or that kind of thing. Now, they're now been applying and getting a SEC regulation, for registration. And then again, too, all the assets have been given direction to be moved to custodians. So let's really understand what really this whole structure is all about and be very careful about what we say. And number two, I'm coming. Hold on. This is a public forum. This is a public forum. That's a very careful what to say and don't pass the wrong message. Then number two, then I strongly take reservation about issue of Ponzi schemes because of economic downturn. No. Even when the economy is doing very well, there have always been Ponzi schemes. They are illegal schemes. They are illegal and the operators just prey on people. They are illegal. So even when no spectre was flourishing, the economy was not bad. And you have to understand the market. That there may be an economic downturn or downturn doesn't mean that there are no investments on a long-term basis are not giving you returns. They may not, because of inflationary index, real rate of return may not be just what you think about it is, what it is. But again, let me correct something. The capital market is not stock market too. There's a lot more than the stock market or NSA is just an aspect of the capital market. There's a bond market, there's a mutual funds market, there's the investment properties market. There are different permissible instruments that make up the capital market, which is just simply a market that is beyond what's 1 year. So that the fact that there may be an economic downturn doesn't mean there should be a Ponzi scheme, because the essence is that you have asset management companies like maybe Meriston, for example, that are professionals that have built up your portfolio to be able to help you, get some good returns, even if the market has a downturn. And even a downturn in any market is not permanent. Even there's what is called correlation analysis, whereby some instruments in the market, some assets in the market are not directly correlated to maybe the sensitivity of the whole general economy per se. And asset managers look for those kind of assets and invest investors' money into them. REITs, for example, are asset classes. ETFs are asset classes. You get my point there? So these are things we need to really understand very well. So there's no justification in any way for Ponzi schemes, in any way whatsoever. The fact remains that Ponzi schemes are prey on people's ignorance, and then prey on people's greed and loss. We need to tell the fact and put it right straight. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ethiok. Thank you so much. I can feel your passion and can I say your strength. But I think I understand that you were trying to correct something, but I think what Mr. Abdullahi was trying to portray is that SEC should be more proactive somehow. I think that's what he was trying to say, that they should be more proactive and engaging more with the public. And you also said something that there's no way SEC can know everything that is happening in the market at the same time. So, and that is also very, very important. And I think that is the reason why one of the participants here raised the question earlier on by saying, in what ways can regulators and enforcers make it very easy for people to walk into their offices and make these complaints concerning Ponzi schemes, and they'll be giving quick and prompt attention without bureaucracies overtaking the whole thing. So I feel that the only thing is just engagement and having the right platform and channels to deal with issues, mostly when it's coming from the investing public. I think that is the major challenge here. We know so well that SEC is doing a good job in trying to curtail it. EFCC is also doing a good job, but we just have to look at how, answer our participants here. They want to know how they can easily report.
All right, thank you. Let me answer that question.
Thank you very much.
I spoke to that already.
Mr. Chuko, just hold on a little. Let's hear from Mr. Ethiok. Yeah. Few minutes, then we'll come back to Mr. Abdullahi to tell us how the investing public can actually engage with the EFCC seamlessly without having to go through those heavy bottlenecks.
All right, thank you very much, John. I spoke to that already earlier on, how the investors can engage with the SEC. I spoke that clearly, and I said we have a phone line for market relations whereby people phone in and complain to the SEC. I said that clearly. So maybe the guy who raised up the question was not on, or didn't get to hear that. So we have a phone line. People have been talking to the SEC. People have been submitting complaints or information to the SEC. Fund managers, and again, I also said again too, Fund Managers Association of Nigeria has also been giving information to the SEC. They have a direct access to the commissioner in terms of giving information to the SEC on Ponzi schemes. So there are clear channels whereby people give information to the SEC. So if you want to find out, those channels are there, whereby you can get to the SEC. Like I said, market relations. Unfortunately, I didn't have the numbers on my slide, but we can give you the number to you, where you can pick up a number, call, and then you have somebody who will pick up your number, take up whatever it is your report is, and send immediately to the relevant department, to the enforcement department. So all those channels are there. Zonal offices, we have everything there. In the zonal office in Lagos, Port Harcourt, I think Kano or so, whereby all complaints or information are made to the SEC. So all those things are all in place. Well,
okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Ethiok. If we can have the email and the phone number, fine and good. So, Mr. Abdullahi, without taking much of our time, I would like you to just tell us what platforms you feel EFCC has provided to easily make reporting, mostly for the investing public, reporting and complaining to the enforcers and the investigators very easy without them being afraid that maybe they'll be victimized or they will not be given the right attention. So what platforms do you think EFCC has provided?
Thank you, Mr. Judge, for having me. EFCC as a body, statutory body, we have different platforms which are highly confidential and with all the necessary security, and in which you don't need even your identity to be disclosed. Recently, there's a Eagle app launched by the current chairman, whereby you just go to the Google Store of your phone, you download the Eagle app, you send all your complaint directly, it will come to the commission, and then certainly it will be investigated. And so many people have deliberated on this platform. We have seen so many complaints that have come, and then the commission is looking into them, and will be, they are being investigated thoroughly. So also we have even zonal offices where you can go and lodge a complaint. And then also we have the website. On our website, we have email. There's a platform, there's an email where you just log in form at EFCC. You log in and send your complaint directly to, and it will be investigated. So these are then we have phone lines too. We have some phone lines.
That's fine.
We also receive complaints. So among other things, you can even come to our offices, the Eagle app, the phone lines, our website. Even on the social network, like on the social network, we have intelligent devices, like I've told you, they are working on that. Send it, it will tell us, explain your complaint, send it. Even the social media, some of our units, they look into those platforms, and we generate intelligence and investigate the matters squarely.
Okay, so so this is very interesting. Thank you so much. And looking at looking at the comments I'm seeing here, a lot of people have been victims of this Ponzi scheme. I can see Adekola is saying, Ponzi scheme has ruined a lot of my funds. I wish I had known much 3 months ago. So you can see this is one of the reasons why we are presenting, we are bringing this program to, or this webinar to our clients, our prospects, and the general investing public. So it's very, very key. I'm even hearing some of the Ponzi schemes that I've never heard of before. So it's really, really pathetic to see that people are losing so much to these Ponzi schemes. So now we are going to launch our poll. So we want you to answer just 4 questions or thereabout. Everybody participating, please ensure you help us answer these questions, because it will help us to engage with you more and help you in, in handling some of your investment needs, as the case may be. And it will also help us to reach out to you and be able to see how we can help you, mostly in providing better information or understanding concerning investment and things like this Ponzi scheme that we are here discussing today. Then it will also be very, very important for us, those of us who have questions, to drop it at the Q&A section, not the chat room. Q&A section. It will be very, 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 very important for us to do that. Then I would like to ask Mr. Abdullahi, while we are waiting for us to end the poll, is there any possibility of these victims getting their monies back, seeing that you have really investigated these issues and some of them will go to court? What is the possibility of them getting their hard-earned monies back? Is it possible?
Like I said earlier on, EFCC is an investigator and prosecuting agency. Any complaint led to EFCs, we have to investigate and we charge. We make recoveries if there's recoveries. What you alone we have to charge. It depends on the nature. If it is property, we have to attach it because most of them instances there's a case now. The under investigation is a Ponzi scheme, and that person, the promoter, almost bought almost 30 properties.
Wow.
So after the investigation, we have to attach these properties to court, and the court will decide. So is our legal system, we work within the ambit of the law. So that's it. And sometimes we make recoveries and we give the victims directly. It's defense on that concept. But basically, we investigate and we charge the matter to court, and the court will determine.
That's fine.
Glass bond, even the commission, there are some in the past that have been done and they have benefited. That is why we are there. For the public, it's a public agency. We have to serve the people. That's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abdullahi. I would like to ask you this question again as we begin to wrap up this important webinar. Sumbo Olalere is asking, he's saying, how long does it take to prosecute a typical Ponzi case? Do you think making these cases public is a good way to educate the public?
How long? Investigation, investigation is defense. You have to get evidence. And in the process of getting this evidence, some you even have to apply for court, others to get them. You understand? So it's an ongoing investigation, requires time. Then from the investigation, then we take to legal. Legal will look at it. So I can't tell you the exact time. There's no time frame. There's no any time frame. I cannot tell you the exact. But all I know, it will be investigated and charged to court, and the court will determine. That's the only thing I can say.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Abdullahi. We have a lot of questions here, but we may not be able to reach out to everybody, but you can visit our website, www.meristemng.com. You can see our contact details there and call us and ask some questions. There's Mr. Matthew Oboto who is saying, how can I get my stock of 250,000 of GT be bought from a broker, Vitofel MD, since 2011? So if those stocks were actually bought, even though the company is not still in existence, we can help you get it tracked, and if possible, help you recover some of those stocks and use them to build a portfolio for you. So all hope is not lost. So far, you are so sure that those stocks were bought. So before we begin to call it a day, I would like to hear from Mr. Efiok once again. So Mr. Efiok, I would like you to, what's the advice you have for our participants, those who are listening to us now, concerning Ponzi scheme with your experience, and just briefly, what are those major things you would like them to take away from this this beautiful session? So what is that important advice that you want to give to them to make sure that they are not the next victim?
Thank you very much. My advice is still what I said earlier on. Is seek information, simple as that. Don't put your money because somebody is promising you 20 or 30% return. It doesn't make any sense. That's just the truth. I mean, just look out for information, advice, the SEC, go to our website. I posted the number of the Market Relations Department of the SEC, 09-462-1168. 09-462-1168. And seek information. I mean, if and seek information and details about what's this scheme about. Don't just put your money into any kind of scheme. Is it registered with the SEC? Is it regulated by the SEC? Get those information and send mails to the SEC, and then you get response. I know even a number of people who have, even for regulated entities. A number of people have written to us and said, is this company registered by SEC, working with SEC? And we respond back to and say, yes, this fund is registered by the SEC and all that, and the company is registered by the SEC. Those are people who are wise and they don't get their fingers burnt. Not for you to get into a Ponzi scheme because of some mind-boggling returns. And then when you get your fingers burnt, you now come to a platform like this and then now begin to lament and complain and gripe. So get your information right. Let me let you know this right now, as I talked about before in the last when I was speaking about the new ISA rule. It is going to be in the rule that every money forfeited in a Ponzi scheme will go to the government. It's not going to be returned. That's the truth. So ignorance is no excuse. And because Nigerians have an attitude to impunity and quick money, that behavior must change. It is better and high time to begin to seek knowledge and use your knowledge and then take a proper decision. Go to the SEC, go to SEC registered fund managers like Mary Step and the rest of them. They are all around. And then the SEC will reform you appropriately. And I appeal again, please don't go out don't go out and don't be captivated by high returns. Those high returns will always burn you out. That's my advice. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I like that when you said that there's a new law that anybody whose fund is trapped in a Ponzi scheme, we lose it to the government. And I believe that nobody that is participating today will be a victim of that because we have gained knowledge. So, Mr. Abdullahi, I want to hear from you. What is your advice to our participants who are here today? What would you want them to take home with to make sure that they don't have any reason to write a petition to EFCC? They don't have any reason to commit suicide. They don't have any reason to be stranded or lose their hard-earned money just because of Ponzi scheme.
So the only thing is that people should be patient, and money is not means everything in life. It does not mean that if you have money, you have everything. They should work hard. Like we see in other jurisdictions, people should work hard to get some sort of means of livelihood. And also people should seek information from the relevant stakeholders, the operators, and then the regulators. But the only thing, people should work hard. There is no easy money in this world. You have to work and work and work. And also you have to seek information from the relevant stakeholders. That's my advice for the public.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Abdullahi. And I want to equally chip in by saying that there's information everywhere now, but how you go about it is very key. For instance, I normally tell people, if you love investment, then you should have an investment advisor or an investment advisor. A company like Meristem, we have some of the most knowledgeable and highly professional investment advisors. Why can't you just take your phone and call somebody, one of the advisors in Meristem, and they'll be able to give you the right advice? You know, so in Meristem, we have a lot of products and services that can cater to your investment needs. You don't need to go and, you know, throw away all the monies you've been laboring for in your life. We have investments like Mr. Fiok said in mutual funds, structured investment, even investment in foreign denominated currencies. So no matter the kind of investment, real estate, if you want to do real estate, we are here for you. You want to buy stocks, or maybe you bought stocks some years ago, like Mr. Lalere was saying, and now you cannot trace it. You can talk to us. We can help you trace these assets and get them back to you. Or maybe your parents, you know that your parents had some assets before, maybe stocks now or shares. Now you don't know where they are. You can go ahead to talk. You can call us, talk to us, visit our website, www.meristemng.com. We are here for you. We are here to make sure that you don't labor in vain, because we know that it is difficult to make money. Money making is not easy. So when you make that money, it should be properly managed and multiplied. It shouldn't be thrown into phony schemes like Ponzi schemes. So I believe you are ready to talk to any one of us, any of our advisors in Meristem. So you can take up your phone, call us, write us a mail today. We're here to listen to you and be your partner in your wealth creation journey. So I want to use the opportunity to thank everybody that has participated. Thank my special panelists, Mr. Abdullahi Tuko. Thank you so much for your participation and your contribution to enrich this discussion. Thank you so much, Mr. Efiok. We have learned so much from you. You have equally opened our eyes. Thank you for enriching this discussion and this conversation. And we can't thank you enough. So at this point in time, I would like to invite Sahid Bashir to come and give us the closing remarks. Sahid is the MD of Meristem Stockbrokers Limited, and is also the Group Executive Business Development, or the Head Business Development. So Sahid, we would like to hear from you even as we begin to wrap up this session. You're welcome.
Thank you, George. Could you please enable my video? Thank you so much. It's been a very engaging session. We thank our panelists, and most especially our audience for their time and for their patience with us. It's been a very engaging session, and that is what we have planned to achieve, to continually engage the market and educate the market. It's one of our responsibility as a firm. We promise that we are a firm with up-to-date market information to grow your wealth in good time in an atmosphere of transparency. That is what Meristem stands for. We are very, very happy that people have listened, and our panelists, they have patiently addressed the issues on the topic. We are very grateful to you for your time and for your wealth of knowledge you have shared with us today on this platform. Thank you so much. We can't thank you enough. Takeaway, of course, George has done most of my work in terms of trying to recap what our panelists, what the justice they have done to the question, to the topic at hand. Speaking about a lot of money, billions of naira, has been lost to these Ponzi schemes of all sorts. And of course, the basis of this is about greed as well as a lack of knowledge on the part of the market participants, the investors. And of course, we have spoken about the need for the market to harmonize amongst the regulators as well as government agencies with a view to further educating, strengthening the market, strengthening the economy, such that we can reduce the incidences of Ponzi schemes in the market. And there is need for more collaborations amongst the regulators, the government agencies, so that we can curb, if not totally eradicate, Ponzi schemes in our market. Of course, the need for new legislations to reduce the incidences of Ponzi scheme and also punish the offenders, the people that exploit the investing public, innocent Nigerians with these Ponzi schemes. And of course, we are discussion about the need to seek investment advisory knowledge, seek knowledge from active participants in the market, people that know, like Meristem. This is one of those things we are doing, so that we can seek, when you are not clear, speak to your advisors, people of repute, firms of repute, that you can get qualified investment information and advice from those firms. And of course, to know about firms that are registered with, that are licensed operators in the capital market. You can go to the SEC website. That is what Mr. Efiok said, and he has also shared that information with us. You can go to the SEC website. You will see the list of the registered capital market operators, such that you can, before you eventually take that investment decision, go to that website and get to know who is registered and who is not, who is licensed, who is not. And when you have complaints, or when you have information that can act as blowing whistle in the market on those illegal operators, you can, of course, go to EFCC website. There's a way you can pass that information to them. Likewise, SEC website. We have been given enough information about where to go and drop messages and alert your regulators about those schemes that are not registered. And of course, to close that, is the need for Nigerians for us to be patient and to work hard. That is a parting shot from Mr. Tuku, that Nigerians need to be more hardworking and we should be patient. We should not look for quick money. And that is the basis that is what makes Ponzi schemes thrive in our markets. We are very grateful for your time you have shared with us. A quality time, I must say. We promise you would bring more of these educative sessions to your attention, and so that we can further enrich the market. That is one of our ways to contribute to the growth of the capital market, because the more we chase away the illegal operators that bring Ponzi schemes to the market, the more we sanitize the market and Nigerians have trust in the investment space. And of course, everybody thrives. And that is what MERSTEM stands for. It's one of our advocacy programs to further ensure the integrity and trust in the investment space, in the capital markets, most especially. Thank you, our panelists, once again, for the quality time and for the information, for your knowledge you have shared with us. We are very grateful. And of course, the audience, we are very grateful for your time and for your questions. And we are very sorry we couldn't take all your questions because of time constraints. As I said earlier on the chat box, we'll compile those questions and share with our regulator, our panelists rather, and we can get answers to those questions. If you have more information, you can reach out to us. We would also be making available the video, the recordings of this session with for those who have registered for the webinar. Thank you once again. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much, Sahid. And we want to say bye and do enjoy your day. See you some other time.
Thank you.
Treasure chest, you've reached the stars.
When you come here, this is getting close. This is one of the issues that was you are doing it.
Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation. The only way to move is up, the way to go. And the generation after that. Don't stop. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
MERSTEM, let's grow wealth for you.
You've reached the stars. Now let's see you conquer galaxies. You've gone for gold. Let's show you 2 more treasure chests. Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation. The only way to move is up, the way to go. And the generation after that. Don't stop. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
MERSTEM, let's grow wealth for you.
You've reached the stars. Now let's see you conquer galaxies. You've gone for gold. Let's show you 2 more treasure chests. Your story doesn't have to end with you. As a matter of fact, it can continue into the next generation. The only way to move is up, the way to go. And the generation after that. Don't stop. After all, you've worked hard to get to where you are. Why should your wealth end with you? Let your story continue.
MERSTEM, let's grow wealth for you.
Yes, I just paid my children's school fees. Supposed to buy some shares today, but it's school fees season, you know.
But just like school fees, stocks cannot wait. Life's many responsibilities come with its sacrifices, but with a margin lending facility, you don't have to miss out on your investment opportunities. Now you can buy shares even when you are not liquid. All you need to do is have existing shares, managed funds, or cash to be used as collateral. The marginable stocks will be calculated to determine how much you can get to buy new stocks. Remember, there is no investment without risk. The time and stocks wait for no one. Don't imagine what can be. Let the Meristem Margin Lending help boost your investment portfolio. Terms and conditions apply. Call 0700 Meristem now to get started. Meristem, let's take you further.
Yes, I just paid my children's school fees. Supposed to buy some shares today, but it's school fees season, you know.
But just like school fees, stocks cannot wait. Life's many responsibilities come with its sacrifices, but with a margin lending facility, you don't have to miss out on your investment opportunities. Now you can buy shares even when you are not liquid. All you need to do is have existing shares, managed funds, or cash to be used as collateral.